Okay, good morning to everybody. This is the continuation of the key women in the Bible, and we are now at the 5 women in Jesus' lineage. Okay, and it's a continuation, and I would like to read this very important understanding that is, love determines ownership. And these are the words of our true parents. In order to save human beings, God has suffered through a history of unceasing indemnity filled with incredible hardship. Although God has the power to reclaim human beings by destroying the devil, he will not do that. It is God's original will to raise human beings in true love and have them build families, tribes, peoples, nation, and world with love. Therefore, he has to keep forever the heart that he had prior to the fall. So even though through the fall, Adam and Eve left God's heart and entered into the realm of Satan's heart, that's the words that I added, God cannot force them to return to him. It is because they already had formed a love relationship with the devil. A love relationship once engaged determines ownership. It determines the right of inheritance. It determines the right to live together, the right to share the same position, and the right to participate in each other's work. With respect to all these rights, Adam and Eve came totally under Satan's ownership. That's why in the Bible, in 2 Corinthians 4:4, Satan is the god of this world. In John 12:31, Satan is the ruler of this world. And in John 8:44, Satan is our father, the devil. So when we say that we are under Satan's ownership, what does that mean? It means that we are completely controlled by Satan. And if anyone else say that we are not, or we are under the ownership of Satan, we get very upset and angry. Okay? Many of us believe that we own our own lives. So when I say this to that our life is controlled by Satan, most of us would be very, very angry. Okay? Because we believe that we own our own life. So in that sense, Satan is the greatest liar, and we are the greatest liar to ourselves. So I shall continue with the next women in the 5 women of Jesus' genealogy. So we dealt with Tamar. We understand how Tamar basically was able to understand that God wanted to arrange a very special lineage from her, in spite of the fact that she has to go through so much difficulties, okay, and accusation, the death of the first son and then the second son. And yet she knew somehow, in spite of this curse that she has brought to the Judah family, she persisted and then had an illicit love relationship with her father-in-law. Okay. The next woman in Jesus' genealogy is Rahab. Now Rahab, like Tamar, is a Canaanite woman, was a harlot who lived in Jericho. So Joshua sent 2 spies to the Jericho. As we know, Jericho, the walls of Jericho collapsed. Okay, and Joshua was able to conquer Jericho. But before he did that, he sent 2 spies. And these 2 spies were kept in the house of Rahab, a prostitute. Okay. At the risk of her life, she hid the 2 spies of Joshua. Because of this, Joshua spared her life when they conquered Jericho. She later became the wife of Salmon and the mother of Boaz. So Rahab risked her life, but she had brought them up to the roof, actually, and hit them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order on the roof. Before they lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said to the men, I know that the Lord has given you to the land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us. Now then, swear to me by the Lord that as I have dealt kindly with you, you also will deal kindly with my father's house. So actually her house was stormed by the king of Jericho's soldiers. They came searching for the two spies. Somehow they knew that the two spies she was hiding the two spies. And then later on, she let the two spies escape, okay? And after Joshua conquered Jericho, her life and her family's life was spared, okay? So this is another interesting woman that is in Jesus' genealogy that risked her life. She happens to be a prostitute, okay? The next woman we will talk about is Ruth. I think I shared with you before that I wanted my youngest daughter, she's named Kaylee now. I suggested that she be called Ruth, but she doesn't like the name Ruth at all. Now, during the time of the judges, when there was a famine, an Israelite family from Bethlehem immigrated to the nearby land of the Moabites. The two sons married Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. Now, Moabites, who are the Moabites? Now, if you remember the account in the Abraham, there was this Lot. Now, Lot is the cousin, and all the men were destroyed. Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. Okay, so Lot had two daughters, and because the men were destroyed completely because of sexual immorality, there were no men for the daughters to get married to. So the two daughters voluntarily had incest with the father Lot, okay? So they had, again, sexual immorality, but this time they committed that not because of their own personal desire, but they want to give their father descendants. And the descendants of this relationship were the Moabites. So Ruth came from that kind of lineage, okay? Now, Ruth was one of the wives that the two sons married, so Ruth and Orpah, okay? And they were the chosen people, but they went to the land of the Moabites for some reason, and they married Moabite women, which is actually not the custom of the chosen people. Now, the two sons died. Naomi journeyed back to Israel after her husband and the two sons died. Naomi asked Ruth to return to her family as there was no future for her to remain with her. Ruth's devotion was extraordinary. She left her own country to follow Naomi as she felt responsible to provide descendants to her husband's family lineage. While in Israel, Ruth was married to Boaz, one of Naomi's relatives. Ruth later became the mother of Obed and the grandfather of King David. So here you have a situation where somehow, just like Tamar, Ruth knew that there must be something of the lineage that she has to give to her mother-in-law, okay, Naomi, whose husband and two sons died, okay? So Ruth has this to say, actually Naomi asked Ruth and Orpah to return to the land of the Moabites, where they came from. But they did not want to go back. Rather, Ruth has this to say, your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. So again, here you have a woman that is not from the lineage of the chosen people, and yet she loved God of the chosen people. Okay. And she decided that she will give descendants to Naomi. And she actually seduced one of Naomi's relatives, Boaz. Okay, she uncovered his feet and laid her down. Okay, and from the descendants of this relationship came the mother of Obed and the grandfather of King David. This is Father's words and also from the Bible. Okay. Tamar and Ruth. Tamar, these two women had much in common. Both lost their first husband and both took similar steps to replace them. Tamar enticed Judah because he was next of kin to her sons who had died. Ruth similarly enticed Boaz, as it says she uncovered his feet and lay her down. Tamar had the single-minded conviction that she would carry on the lineage of the chosen people. Probably Ruth as well, yes? Now, it's interesting that all these women were concubines and prostitutes, okay? Whether you're talking about Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, and even Bathsheba. The genealogy of Jesus recorded in chapter 1 of the Gospel of Matthew lists the names of Tamar and Ruth, both of whom were in the position of concubines. It lists Solomon's mother, Bathsheba, another concubine. It lists Rahab, who was a prostitute. These women, concubines and prostitutes, appeared in the Bible as playing significant roles in the background of human history. They were the women that actually formed the 5 women of Jesus' genealogy. So if we can understand that the fall of man is sexual immorality, we can then understand why is it that God chose 5 women in Jesus' lineage to be concubines and prostitutes for God. Okay. We move on. We will study another woman, Bathsheba. Okay. And that will be the last woman we will study this morning. Now, Bathsheba was the wife of Uriah, the Hittite, who was the captain in the army of King David. Bathsheba was taking a bath when King David saw her and fell in love with her. She and David had an adulterous affair. When David discovered Bathsheba was pregnant, he tried to cover it up by summoning Uriah home from the war, hoping that Uriah would have intercourse with his wife. So Uriah came home to Jerusalem, but refused to lay with his wife as long as the armies of Israel were at war. So Uriah was a very faithful soldier, captain, okay? So David sent Uriah back into battle with orders that Uriah be set in the forefront of the hottest battle, that he may be struck down and die. After Uriah was inevitably slain in this manner, David took Bathsheba as his own wife, and because of this, God punished them for this by killing their first child. Bathsheba later became the mother of Solomon, King Solomon. Okay. Now let's read a little bit more about Bathsheba. Bathsheba thought that although her husband was killed, it was honorable for him to die as a loyal subject. Moreover, it was to his honor that she accepted being offered to the king with joy. She had such a high standard viewpoint. She thought, it is my duty to my husband that I offer myself to the king with loyalty and devotion. With this attitude, she married King David. On this foundation, she could give birth to King Solomon. These are the words of our true parents. Now, if you look at this situation, there is a restoration process here. David was in the position of Adam, even though she stole and steal the wife of Uriah, okay? So Uriah was in the position of the archangel. But the position of Eve had to be restored through a woman in the position of the wife of the archangel. The archangel caused Eve to fall by stealing her from Adam, her original partner, and possessing her with false love. So David stole Bathsheba from Uriah, who is in a good archangel position. Now, Bathsheba could have hated King David for intentionally sending her husband Uriah to the battlefield to be killed and taking her as his wife. But she accepted it as a fate, or rather as heaven's will. In other words, she believed that King David's act was not done out of ill intent, but rather to fulfill a greater purpose of God. So because of this relationship of Bathsheba and King David, came King Solomon from the paternal side. And then from Solomon came Joseph. From the maternal side, in the book of Luke, okay, Nathan was born, and then from Nathan came Mary, okay? So the question now is, which will be dealt with the next presentation, God went through so much work to restore the women, okay, so that a lineage can be born in Joseph. But Joseph is not the father of Jesus, okay? Mary is a descendant of King David, yes, but the father was not Joseph. Joseph was not the father. That question will be answered in the next presentation. So here you can see this amazing 5 women in Jesus' genealogy to restore the 4, to restore basically how Eve committed sexual relationship with the archangel and then subsequently committed sexual relationship with Adam. So it's in many ways restoration of the act of love that Eve committed at the time of the fall. So when we ask ourselves, in all these acts of sexual immorality centering on God, was there a change of blood lineage? Or was it a condition set by women like Tamar, like Rahab, like Ruth, like Bathsheba. So there's no change of blood lineage, obviously, because Joseph, who came from that lineage, was not the father of Jesus at all. Even though Mary came from that lineage, and Mary was a very exemplary woman called by God. So all these questions about the change of blood lineage, how did this change of blood lineage actually took place so that Jesus can be born like Adam without sin? This is a question that we will have to answer in the next presentation. Okay. So that's the content for this morning. The next presentation will talk about Mother Mary, the last women, and the mystery continue in the Mother Mary's act of love, so-called. Okay, so some interesting questions before we move on to the next presentation the next time is, so Joseph was betrothed to Mary, and he came from that lineage that came from the 5 women, okay, 4 women at least anyway. Why is that so? And then he was not the father of Jesus, so there was no change of blood lineage. And then a question then arises. Now, if we believe that true father is the 3rd Adam, how can father come from, did father come to the lineage of Mother Mary or Joseph in any way? So since there was no change of blood lineage, when I was preparing this presentation, I already had this presentation prepared for 5 years ago. But there was some question that were asked. So interestingly, Sister K is Mrs. Yamaguchi. He says, how is the change of blood lineage of the 5 women mentioned in Jesus' genealogy connected to the 3rd Adam? Okay. That's the first question. The second question is, even if there is a reversal of fall centering on sexual act, how did the change of blood lineage came about? But it's related to the understanding that even though all the change of blood lineage took place through the women by reversing the fall, but Joseph was not the father of Jesus. So all these questions were questions that I had, okay? Even though I already have this presentation of the 5 women. So I will answer it in full, hopefully in the next presentation. If not the next, another presentation. Okay. Now I shall open to questions, comments. I like to ask the women folk some question. Usually when I give this presentation, women feel very uncomfortable. That's the least they will say. Like I say in the beginning, many of them would be very angry that I would even share this content.
Why?
Yeah, and recently I shared this content to another woman, and I will not mention any name. And I just put the title of the presentation is Key Women of the Bible, Principal Perspective.
Why do they get upset? I don't get it.
And she was so upset with this title. I don't know how this title can upset anyone. She mentioned at least 2-3 times. She was, and this is not the first time. So I feel that, wow, this really confirmed that this content is the truth, nothing but the truth from God. So yeah, my own personal experience of this content with my own family is the same. So I thought the truth will set us free, but the truth not necessarily can set us free, because the truth, if you speak the truth, sometimes you will get the other side of the blade or the sword. Okay, I said I talked too much this morning already. Any comments or any questions?
I'm just curious why they get upset. What point makes them upset?
Well, I can only say that if you don't know the answer, you are very able type.
That's funny.
Then you have to ask those women that are angry and upset with this content. Because if I say any more, someone will say that I'm very prejudiced against women.
Okay.
When I'm not. I thought this content will liberate women, but unfortunately, it's not the case.
Well, I guess I think sisters in our movement have a tendency to think that we're always doing good. So maybe that's part of it. I mean, and of course, right, in their original heart, that's why we're following true parents, right? But we don't realize the reality of Satan within me. So I could see how, like, if I think I'm so great, then this would offend you, something like that. Like, but I can't. I mean, I'm not trying to like judge anybody who feels that way, but I could see if I don't really know the reality of my fallen nature, then and I think I for a long time didn't look at those things, but then I could see like, no, I'm doing good. No, I'm a good member. This kind of thing. I think like I could relate to that aspect if that's part of why people get offended or something. That's my comment, Uncle.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I don't expect you all to comment if you don't want to comment, but if you have any comment, your comments are welcome.
I have today. I like the story of Bathsheba today because because of I mean, for King David, he stole her, right, from her husband. And I think maybe it can be just, oh, he fall in love with, someone's wife and cover up the pregnancy and, but because of like father's word, because of like she took it, she didn't view that way, that's why like it made a difference, without her like like have resentment or some question or some struggling, then maybe nothing happened. And so it was like, oh wow. Yeah, as a result it become like restoration, happened. So to me, yeah, good. Very good.
Mhm. Okay.
I just want to apply whatever I'm going through, yeah. Yes.
I hope you can accept and appreciate every situation that you will go through in terms of your married life. Because these women, my goodness, their husband died, everyone accused them, and yet they can think and feel for God. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, Rebecca was also given away to 2 times to a king, King Abimelech, king of Gerar, just like Sarah. Yeah, so these key women are really amazing. Amazing heart. They absolutely trusted their husband. They never accused their husband, even though, yeah, so they are very exemplary in that sense. Okay, so I'm afraid I cannot divulge to you because Brianna did ask, oh, did something similar happen to True Father's lineage then, But then, like I said, there was no change of blood lineage because it came down to Joseph, So many people wonder, why is that so then? Because there is something that is missing that True Father revealed to us, then it makes perfect sense. Okay. And Mr. Fujita was also part of this, that I received insight suddenly and say, I see. It's a eureka moment, I hope it can be a eureka moment for you when I share it with you next week. But anyway, but it's a very important understanding, not only in terms of change of blood lineage, but in terms of the original purpose of God's creation. And it has big impact. Most blessed family, blessed couple, do not know what it means to their blessed family life, unfortunately. This is also the reason why I am compelled to share, because I feel that when Father introduced this in after 1993-4, many of the Korean leadership, even Japanese leadership, as far as I know, couldn't accept it. So I'm introducing something that is very controversial, okay? But it's a very important understanding, because the original purpose of God's creation, why did God create Adam and Eve, you know? Not just the tree blessing, but more fundamental than the tree blessing. Okay, thank you so much for listening and providing a platform so that I can share this content. Thank you, Mr. Fujita.
Okay.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Oh, I'm excited for next